You've definitely heard the term buzzing around everywhere. LLM, large language models. They're changing pretty much everything about how we work and create. But let's be honest, behind all the hype, the technology can feel like, well, like magic. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you how it all really works.
If you've ever felt your head spin hearing terms like transformer, embedding, or self-attention, trust me, you are not alone. This cloud of jargon can feel super intimidating, but the core ideas, they're actually surprisingly intuitive. We're going to build our understanding of this together, step by step, starting from the very beginning.
I mean, we see the incredible results, right? Chatbots that can hold a real conversation, tools that write code for you, assistants that can summarize a 50-page report in seconds. But that's the what. The really fascinating part is the how. How does a machine go from just a jumble of text to producing coherent, context-aware language? That is the question we are digging into today.
Okay, so before an LLM can write or reason or answer any questions, it has to do something much, much more basic. It has to learn how to read. And, as it turns out, machines don't read language anything like the way we do.
For you and me, the basic unit of language is a word. Simple enough. But for an LLM, the fundamental building block is something called a token. And what's so interesting is how flexible a token is. It can be a whole word, like cat, a piece of punctuation like a comma, or even just a part of a word.
And this is where it gets really clever. Using these subword tokens is the key. By breaking down a complex word like unbelievable into its component parts, the model can actually understand and even create words it has never ever seen before. It learns the meaning of prefixes like un and suffixes like able, which makes the whole system incredibly efficient and adaptable.
Okay, so the machine has its tokens, but you can't do math on letters, right? So the next step is to translate these tokens into numbers, and it does that using something called embeddings. The best way to think about this is like a giant multi-dimensional map, where every single token gets a specific coordinate. And this is how the model captures meaning. Tokens with similar concepts like king and queen or computer and laptop get placed very close to each other on this map.
Turning words into numbers is a huge step, but understanding context, how words actually relate to each other in a sentence, that's the real challenge. And that is where a truly revolutionary design called the transformer comes into play. The transformer architecture was an absolute game changer. See, instead of processing a sentence word by word in order, it looks at the entire sentence all at once. The secret sauce here is a mechanism called self-attention, which lets the model figure out which words in the sentence are the most important for understanding any other single word.
So for example, when the model looks at the word mat in the cat sat on the mat, self-attention helps it immediately realize that sat and cat are the most relevant words for context. It gets that the mat is what the cat sat on. This ability to weigh all those relationships across the whole sentence is what gives LLMs their incredibly deep contextual understanding.
Now, not all transformers are built the same. There are a few key flavors. You've got encoder-only models, like BERT, which are fantastic at understanding context for things like sentiment analysis. Then you have decoder-only models, like the GPT family, which are built specifically for generating new text. And finally, you have encoder-decoder models, which are perfect for transformation tasks, like translating from one language to another.
So we have the architecture, but how does this system actually learn anything? Well, it goes through an education process of an almost unimaginable scale, which transforms it from basically a blank slate into a linguistic master. The learning happens in two main stages. First up is pre-training. This is where the model essentially reads a huge chunk of the internet, blogs, books, articles, you name it, just to learn the general rules of language, grammar, and facts about the world. After that, we get to fine-tuning. This is where we take that generally knowledgeable model and train it on a much smaller specific set of data to make it an expert at a particular task, like writing legal contracts or medical notes.
Just to give you a sense of the sheer scale of pre-training, look at this number, 300 sextillion operations. That's the kind of computational power needed to train just one model like GPT-3. It's an astronomical amount of calculation, and it's exactly why we call them large language models.
And this is where things get really wild. All of that scale leads to something called emergent abilities. These are complex skills like solving multi-step math problems that don't just get a little better with size. Instead,
They just appear, almost out of nowhere, once a model gets big enough. It suggests that at a certain scale, the model isn't just memorizing patterns anymore. It's actually learning to reason.
All right, the model is built and trained. It's ready to go. Now, how do we actually use it? Well, the key is all in how we ask our questions. This is the art and science of prompting.
There are a few main ways to talk to an LLM. Zero shot is the simplest. You just give it an instruction, cold. Few shot is where you give it a couple of examples to show it what you want. But for really complex problems, chain of thought prompting is incredibly powerful. You actually ask the model to think step by step, which forces it to lay out its reasoning process, and that often leads to a much more accurate answer.
And what do we use all these prompting techniques for? Well, the applications are already all around us. From the conversational chatbots we talk to document summarization tools, coding assistants that write functions for you, and incredibly sophisticated question answering systems.
But, of course, this technology isn't perfect, not by a long shot. With great power comes great challenges, and for LLMs, the biggest ones are all centered around truth and reliability.
The most famous problem is something called hallucination. That's when a model confidently states something that sounds totally correct, but is completely made up. It's so important to remember that these models are designed to generate plausible-sounding language, not to state objective truth. They're expert pattern matchers, not fact-checkers.
So how do we fight these hallucinations? Well, the conceptual answer is pretty simple. You don't ask the model to just remember facts from its massive training data. Instead, you give it the facts it needs right when you ask the question. Essentially, you turn a closed-book memory test into an open-book comprehension test.
And this open book method is called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or RAG. Here's how it works. When you ask a question, instead of just sending it to the LLM, the system first retrieves relevant documents from a trusted database. It then bundles those facts with your original question and sends the whole package to the LLM, instructing it to answer based only on the information provided. Beyond hallucinations, there's the huge challenge of bias. Since these models learn from a giant snapshot of the internet, they don't just learn facts, they also pick up on all the skewed perspectives, prejudices, and stereotypes in that data. The model is a reflection of its training material, so if that material is biased, you can bet the output might be too.
You know, in the end, an LLM is a kind of reflection. It mirrors the vast, complex, and often flawed universe of human language it was trained on. And that really leaves us with a final, vital question. As we build and use these powerful tools, the most important thing to consider isn't just what they're capable of learning, but what we, as their creators and users, actively choose to teach them.